Davis is on your right, the team captain of Metagame Gurus with his Salty Delver deck. He is playing against Todd Anderson, who is playing Black-Red Reanimator, a deck that did very, very well over the course of the Eternal Weekends that have taken place recently. This Black-Red Reanimator deck is pretty wild, man.
It is super fast. It's really important that you have interaction with them on the first turn. Like, they're going to be able to get a fatty into their graveyard, and they're going to be able to reanimate it super fast.
So I am someone who's played Reanimator for a while. But I was playing Blue-Black Reanimator. You got your Ponders, your Careful Studies, your Force of Wills, Days if you like that particular build of the deck. It gave you, you're a little bit slower, but it gave you some defense against things, and it gave you some manipulation. This version ain't got any interest in any of that.
Well, in a way it does. I mean, it's still playing Unmask as Disruption, and the Chancellor of the Annex, which we'll dial up for you guys at home, is going to be that little bit of extra insurance that this deck needs. It gives them that breathing room on the first turn to do what they want to do uninterrupted.
Chancellor of the Annex is it's a weird one. You obviously want to have it in your opening hand, don't draw it, but it's a 5/6. You reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, when each opponent casts his or her first spell of the game, counter that spell unless that player pays 1. So if you've got Force Will, wrong. That's not going to do it.
Yep.
You're going to need a bunch of those. Now here's an Unmask from Todd. Jim wants to read it. So do we. Mercadian Mask Rare, by the way.
Oh, yeah. This was a good one.
This was a very good one back in the day.
And it's possible, Todd might just want to unmask himself.
Go for broke.
Yeah.
He's unmasking himself to make himself discard Gristlebrand. And now he's going to reanimate Gristlebrand.
And this is why it's important to have that first turn interaction with this deck. They have so many ways to get the fatty into their graveyard.
And now Todd will pass. You know what Todd says? That's enough for me. I'm going to pass the turn. That's all I can do.
Just a 7/7 life-linking flyer that draws 7 cards.
Jim's going to draw his card, and we're all set.
There's a lot to talk about in that game.
That is. that is Legacy Try. And people don't like Modern? You kidding me? See ya. Turn 1. Todd Anderson up a game. Players Championship rematch. Here between Anderson and Davis. The reason Davis concedes there, one, his deck can't beat Gristlebrand when it gets on the battlefield unless something goes very right involving Liliana the Veil, which I'm checking 0 copies in his main deck this weekend, so he can do nothing to get it off the battlefield. And there's no real racing that card.
Well, and there's the potential that Todd does not know what Jim is on.
That's the big part of this.
So if he plays any spell there, he's giving away too much free information.
Correct.
You know, this is a game that he could play 100 times and he's not going to win one of them.
Correct.
So why give away that information?
That's something savvy players like the Players Champion will do. They'll concede a game they can no longer win, hide that information, and get ready to sideboard.
How you get to be the captain.
That's right. 2 Baleful Strix, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Surgical Extraction, and 2 Dreaded Knights, along with one of the Pin the Needle Null Rod, Maelstrom Pulse Force of Will, Dismember, Marsh Casualties, Winter Orb. If Jim is in tune with the format and has the deck list in front of us, in front of him like we do here in the booth, what would you do if you were Jim to sideboard for this?
Well, like I said, these cheap interactions are going to be so critical. The Thoughtseizes are first turn plays. The Surgical Extractions are spectacular in this matchup. They cost 0 mana, and obviously stripping the creature out of the graveyard is just going to be backbreaking if Todd's trying to reanimate something. So those types of cards, the Force of Will's got to come in. It costs nothing. So we're going to see those cards for sure. On a side note, it's interesting to see this, the Marsh Casualties and double Dread of Night. I guess Jim is expecting a lot more in the way of Death and Taxes this weekend.
I think that deck's pretty popular now.
Yeah.
The additions of those new cards from Conspiracy, I think are going to really change the way that deck is built and how much play it's going to see. I'm sure we'll see it on camera a couple times this weekend. It looks to be it looks like the deck just got better in basically all aspects. Doesn't have to play, you know, I don't think we're going to see stuff like Brimaz anymore or some like mediocre 3-mana spells. I think it's just got to upgrade its 3-mana spot a lot. So when we see that deck and those new cards, of course, we will talk about them at length. But for now, we turn our attention towards Todd Anderson's sideboard. 3 Ancient Tomb, 2 Collective Brutality, an Elesh Norn, 2 Engineered Explosives, an Iona Shield of Myria, 2 Pith Needle, and a card I know Todd loves to cast in Show and Tell. What do we like here?
Hey, this is a tough spot for Todd because he doesn't even know what his opponent's playing.
True.
He went first turn, reanimate my 7/7, and his opponent conceded. What do you do in that spot? Do you sideboard? Do you change some things? One thing to consider, a card like Collective Brutality that's a little bit slower, but it gives him ways to interact and fight his opponent. Might just come in almost every game too anyway, because when you're playing such a streamlined strategy like Reanimator, you know your opponents are going to have hate cards for it, and you need a way to fight back against those hate cards. So we might see a card like Collective Brutality come in here. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of other sideboarding.
So in spots like this, I love to get my hedge on. I always bring in Show and Tell.
Sure.
At least two. The reason being, so you just saw me reanimate Gristlebrand.
Yep.
So I used my graveyard.
Yep.
Just about every Legacy deck has access to Graveyard Hate.
Yes.
Between Surgical, because any deck can play it, Rest in Peace, whatever.
Elite Line of the Void,
yeah. Whatever. People have stuff for the Graveyard that they're just going to bring in, and Show and Tell is just kind of the perfect hedge for that.
Yes.
I mean, no guarantee that it's going to work, but I don't want to rely on my Graveyard, especially like Todd doesn't have Abrupt Decay or anything like that. Like, he doesn't really have Counter Magic. He does have Unmask, but doesn't have a great way to really defend himself. So Show and Tell, I think, is the natural way to go over the top of your opponent after they saw you use their Graveyard to win.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to go about doing things. So we'll see if he's going to bring those in, as Jim has quite obviously taken a step away from the table.
I mean, Jim got he got beat so bad in that match, he just had to get up and leave.
I think he's ready now, ready-ish, as he rolls up his sleeves, getting ready to do some dirty work here. While Jim gets ready and Todd gets ready for our Players' Championship rematch, we will talk about the StarCityGames.com, a YouTube page where you can watch a fantastic new show called Split Second that is done by Commander vs. Superstar, Jeremy Knoll. A lot of fun updates. Basically, what Split Second does is it's about a 2 to 4 minute daily show that tells you what the heck happened in Magic for those of you who can't sit on the internet all day like me.
Sure.
So, great show to watch there. A lot of fun. Great work being done by Jeremy Knoll. You can find, of course, the Versus series where you'll find Todd Anderson, Brad Nelson, Michael Majors, Ross Merriam, Tom Ross, Jerry Thompson. You'll do some Commander Versus, some Magic Online playtesting, best of SCG Live, or best of Chris Van Meter getting destroyed on camera, and a whole bunch more. Subscribe today at youtube.com/StarCityGames. You can also watch the replay of this match. Might be a best of SCG Live moment for Todd Anderson, who's got so many of those. Oh, he wins a lot. He does win a lot. He might be on his way to another win here, another top 8, which would be his age.
30.
Is the goal to have the same number of top 8s as the age you are?
I think his goal is to surpass that.
He's looking for number 30 here this weekend. 30 is, he should just, as he gets a year older, just add another one to the ledger.
Sure.
31 years old, 31 top 8s. This year it'd be 30 years old, 30 top 8s.
Yeah, honestly, I think that would be a disappointment for him.
Yeah, if it's only one at a time now?
Yeah,
one
a year? No, he has the capability to put up 3, 4, 5 top 8s a year.
Yeah, he's certainly demonstrated that over the past handful of years. 6 open wins, 3 invitational top 8s, 1 invitational win in Atlanta a handful of years ago for Todd Anderson, who he came over to us this morning, big old smile on his face, typically smiling anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Loves to be in a Magic tournament, but big old smile on his face. He said, I got this sweet Reanimator deck that did well Eternal Weekend, and this thing is the real deal. It looked good that last game.
Yep, it did what it was supposed to do. First turn, reanimate a fatty.
Chancer of the Annex, Gristlebrand. The big one here is Sire of Insanity.
That one's pretty backbreaking.
Yeah, really hard to come back from that if you're the opponent. Some Exhumes, Reanimates, Faithless Lootings, Thoughtseize, we saw Unmasked, Dark Ritual, Entomb. This is 4, 8, 9, 7, 12. Only 14 lands and 4 Lotus Petals. This deck is quick.
Yeah, it's streamlined.
Yeah.
Lots of reanimation spells in here. You know, the usual is the Entomb, the Reanimate Exhume.
Yep.
This has Animate Deads on top of that. Mm-hmm. And just try to get a fatty in the bin and get it into play.
Here's a Delver of Secrets. Todd will draw. He drew a copy of Reanimates.
Jim is so much better set up when he's on the play. His deck features the Dazes, Force of Wills, Spell Pierces. Ooh, I like this out of Todd.
Yeah, discard on the first turn. Jim going to check for Delver. It's a no-go. It's a Vendilion click. To note, outside of, obviously being the Players' Champion, and he's headed to the Players' Championship again to defend his title, Jim's first open win, and he's got a lot of top 8s on his resume as well, was actually with Saltai Delver in Indianapolis earlier this year. It was a long time coming, a lot of top 8s for him, but he finally got the W. He's playing, honestly, pretty close to what he got his win with.
He loves this deck.
Yeah, he really does.
And he plays it spectacularly well.
Here's a Ponder. Take a look at the top couple of cards. A Delver, a Force of Will, and a Surgical Extraction. Pretty tough to say no to those.
Yeah, this is such a two-edged sword here because he really wants another land to start doing more with his turns. But those are all the key cards for this matchup.
That's also an instant/sorcery to flip with Delver as well. I want to draw the Surgical. This has got to be a keep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jim's going to draw the Surgical. That also means he'd be drawing Forceful next turn and revealing it to Delver. There's a lot to like about this. He'll pass. Todd will draw Badlands. Todd will start with an Unmask, removing Sire of Insanity to take a little look-ski-poo. So what's interesting here is how does Jim want to respond?
Yeah, I think Jim's play is going to be use the Surgical Extraction, and then he could potentially just let the Unmask resolve. His other option is to Force of Will the Unmask, and then Todd's going to go ahead and try to use one of his reanimate spells, and then Jim gets the 2-for-1, and when he Surgicals the Gristlebrand.
Yeah, the question to me is, how do you want to kind of bait your opponent here?
Yes.
By Force Willing the Unmask, you're saying my hand is really important. I need to protect what's going on here. Now, we know, and you know at home, that Jim's hand is the nuts.
Yes.
Because he's got Surgical to go along with this. Actually, he's got Daze, too. Jeez. His hand is the actual nuts. Here is Surgical on Gristlebrand. Jim, of course, will have to pay some life to do that. You see Todd's hand here. He has Entomb, Exhume, and a couple of lands.
So he has everything to do it again, but Jim's going to draw another Force of Will. And he has that Daze.
This is Spell Pierce, too.
Spell Pierce.
His hand's really good.
Well, and Jim's deck is just set up well to fight these types of matchups. You know, he shows up with just lots of super cheap threats and then the best cheap interaction spells.
It's also super set up for the reason that you mentioned as well when he's on the play.
Yes.
He's a million times better on the play than on the draw.
But after boarding, he gets the fourth Force of Will. He gets the Surgical Extractions.
Force of Will, the reveal here for Jim. Delver's transformed into a 3/2 flying insect.
And he gets to, aggressively mulligan to get those right cards.
Jim has no second land, but that's not a problem. Volcanic Island, Underground Sea, the draw for Todd. My apologies, as he's going to play a Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn back. On Jim's upkeep, Todd says, I want to play an Entomb. Is that okay?
Probably not.
I am generally, as a Reanimator player, I hope the Counterspell player lets my Entomb resolve.
Yeah.
Jim is going to Daze after floating a mana. Todd is going to try to sacrifice the fetch land. That'll get stifled, so no go on the Entomb.
And you see Jim just getting all the value out of every single one of his cards.
He also gets to replay the land now.
Yep.
He can maybe follow up with a Delver if he'd like to. You see the hand of Delver, Force of Will, Spell Pierce. The question is, does he want to leave Spell Pierce up or does he want to play the other Delver?
Yeah, so he can, if he plays the Delver, he can force away the Spell Pierce if he has to. But if he doesn't play the Delver, he can use the Spell Pierce more effectively, and he's got a blue card in his hand for the Force of Will.
Anderson will draw. He'll play a Polluted Delta, just pass the turn back over to Davis. Davis will untap. He'll take a draw step, find another Stifle. In for 3 he goes. Anderson going to fall down to 9. He will still leave Spell Pierce plus Stifle plus Force of Will available. And I don't really think he needs to change anything. There is the Stifle to take care of the fetch land. Todd will draw. Reanimate. This is Collective Brutality. Haha, let's take a look at this as he's going to escalate it.
Yep, that's a good one here.
Jim is going to Force of Will this. The escalate here was going to be -2/-2, and probably take a look at Jim's hand.
Yep, for sure.
That's not going to work now, however, as in comes the Delver yet again. Anderson's down to 5. Davis going to play Deathrite Shaman. Pass the turn back as the defenses are down. Entomb to go along with Exhume, but he is 1 turn short as Jim Davis is going to win game number 2 here over Todd Anderson. Salte Delver, Black Red Reanimator, going to game 3.
Yeah, we see that Collective Brutality there. It wasn't able to turn the corner for Todd, but you see a card like that to me is a design win for Wizards.
Okay.
When they can make a card that's that versatile but not so overpowered, and then it makes an impact in a format that's as powerful as Legacy is, you've done something good with the card.
Yeah, really. To me, I look at Collective Brutality, especially in older formats. We saw it in Orlando a couple weeks ago when we were watching Modern, and we see it here. Like, Definitely a powerful card, but
Yeah.
not, as you mentioned, so over-the-top powerful that it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I like that card a lot, and you had a feeling he was going to bring it in.
Yeah.
So you were definitely right about that, and it is quite good in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it kills all of Jim's cheaper creatures. It has the ability for Todd to discard one of his fatties, which is just like a bonus, and it's a duress effect in there to clear away some of those counter spells that Todd has to fight through. So it does everything that Todd wants to do in this matchup.
Well, Craig, as these players are going to shuffle up here for game number 3, we are in Season 3 here of the SCG Tour. Todd Anderson looking to get back to the Players' Championship. Jim Davis is already there. There's not a lot of time left. Only got 4 events left here in Season number 3. We're obviously in Baltimore right now. We'll be in Columbus next weekend for a little Modern action. Knoxville, our first return there in a couple of years for Standard. And then we've got our Atlanta Invitational to put a cap on the season and basically the year outside of the Players' Championship. Now, not a lot of time left to go ahead and get these playmats for 2016, so we'll take a look at our standard playmat first. It is Dark Salvation and Liliana and Zombies and all that good stuff for our standard, classic, and open players. For our modern ones, that's where you will be able to go get Steel Overseer. Even though I'm not much of an Affinity player, I know a lot of people are, so a lot of people do enjoy that for our modern opens and classics. And then for Legacy, which is what we are watching right now, the artwork's good, but I hate this card.
Oh, I hate the card as well, but all 3 of these playmats are just, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful playmats. I don't know how Star City gets permission to just use this spectacular artwork.
The powers that be at Wizards of the Coast are very nice.
Yeah, I mean, you guys must have some clout because you're getting the job done here with these.
Sensei's Divine Top is, of course, our Legacy playmat for our Season 3 Open and Classic competitors. So if you do come down to any of those remaining dates, Columbus next weekend, Knoxville after that, and then our Invitational in Atlanta. That's your last opportunity to get these awesome playmats. And now we get to watch game number 3 of the 2015 Players' Championship finale between Todd Anderson and Jim Davis. Davis came out on top there. We'll see if he can come out on top here. He is on the draw now, though.
Yeah.
World of difference.
A huge difference, but if there's a deck that you want to be piloting against this Reanimator deck, it might be this Sultai Delver deck.
A lot of interaction.
Yes. Cheap and free counter spells. Way to fight the graveyard. Cheap threats to get onto the board. It's doing the things that it needs to do.
Jim going to take a mulligan here. You have to imagine he's on the hunt for a free spell. Any hand that does not have a free spell, Force of Will or
Surgical
Extraction,
yep.
Thank you. Those probably have to go back.
Yeah.
Right? This is always the dilemma, and I'm curious what your take is on this. When you're playing in a matchup that is, you're playing against a deck that is just as explosive as Todd's, and you're playing a Delver-esque deck or a deck that has Force of Will or free stuff, what have you, you can convince yourself to say, you know what, on the draw I'm going to keep Daze, Deathrite Shaman, Spell Pierce, something like that. Do you just, in general, you just mulligan those hands, or do you convince yourself to keep them sometimes?
I think if you've played enough Legacy and you're disciplined, you understand that it's too important to mulligan a lot of those hands. A lot of times Daze isn't even going to get the job done. Especially, I mean, Todd's no amateur. He's no dummy. He knows the format. He knows that he's going to have to play around Daze in some spots. So if, second turn he plays his second land and casts Dark Ritual. Yeah. Our viewers at home can't see this, but Cedric has made quite the face into the double Chancellor of the Annex opening.
All right, so you may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, when each opponent casts his or her first spell of the game, counter that spell unless that player pays 1. Okay.
Unless that player pays 2.
Yeah, unless that player pays 2 now.
And Jim is just going to have to deploy a spell into this just to break it.
He's got no choice.
Yeah.
So we're going to see what he's going to play here in just a moment. I mean, it's going to get countered, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ponder, countered. Both the Chancellor triggers are done. All right. Todd drew an Unmask.
That's a good one. But Unmask, you have to remove a black spell. So there's Chancellors.
He's going to remove Unmask, target himself. All right, so we're on a Chancellor plan here. That's a Delta. Lotus Petal to play around Daze.
Yep.
Sacrifice both lands. Search for an Underground Sea and a Badlands, maybe. Looks like definitely, okay, so 2 bad lands. Here's Animate Dead, going to try to target the Chancellor. Here's a Force of Will from Jim. He's going to remove a Daze from that. He will take 1. Do want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we are currently having, but we will try to keep those life totals updated for you guys as best as possible.
And we can see Jim here just doing the things that he needs to do. He had that Force of Will, which was just critical. He had the 1 mana spell to break the Chancellor counter spells. He's following up with a threat that's going to recoup him some card advantage, and he's still sitting on a Daze. You know, this is...
Pretty good spot.
Yeah, this is why you show up with this deck.
Todd's draw was not particularly useful. I think it was another Chancellor. So Jim is going to reveal, and now he will draw Force of Will, 2 Dazes, and a Wasteland.
And even the Wasteland is good because it opens up those Dazes.
Yep.
You know, it makes them more effective.
Todd will draw Thoughtseize. Sure. Gonna play that. So bring him down to 14. Jim, he might, yeah, I thought he might force just to hide the Daze.
Yeah. But yeah, if he uses the Force there, he's losing more cards than he would if he just let it resolve.
Mm-hmm. Todd trying to decide what he wants to take here in this instance.
Yeah, it's such an awkward spot for Todd. I think he has to take the Force of Will and play to a position where he can play around both Dazes.
Well, he's going to take a Daze this go around. Leaving Jim with a Force and a Daze, pass the turn back. Jim will reveal Dark Confidant. Well, well, fair enough. Jim will take 2. Picked up, oh boy. Picked up another Wasteland. Here comes Dark Confidant.
Those Dazes keep getting better.
Yeah, they sure do. Todd's going to fall down to 12, and Todd's in some real trouble now as he draws a card. Picked up a Bloodstained Mire. He'll play that, pass the turn back. Jim will untap, reveal Dark Confidant. It's a Stifle.
Oh. Ever run hot?
Yeah.
Just
Todd down to 10. Todd will draw. Oh, Reanimate. Sure. Yep, just pass.
Yeah, he's just shrugging.
That doesn't do much. Jim will reveal Ponder. Go a little bit lower. Draw another card.
Todd opened with double Chancellor into second turn Reanimate.
No good.
And Jim has countered every spell he's cast this game.
Not even close to good. I believe Anderson down to 8 now. Here's a Delver. Jim's got 100 Dazes and a Force of Will. There's our update. 8 to 14 now, folks. Apologies for that. Let's make it 13, actually. No more.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that. All you can do is laugh that one off, which is exactly what Todd is doing. Is Jim Davis is going to win this match over Todd Anderson. The Players' Championship rematch goes to the Players' Champion. Salty Delver wins this one over Blackbird Reanimator. Jim Davis is 3-0.